Hello and welcome to Self Love is Sexy. My name is Jackie Opie and it is such an absolute pleasure to have you here. So today we're talking about self-love and how self-love is one of the most beautiful things and most beautiful celebrations that we can do for ourselves. So for some people, self-love might seem like a over-exaggerated version of ego, and we're going to be talking a bit about that today. So the reason that I feel like self-love is so critically important is because the ability to be able to love others and to share with others comes initially from a deep self-love and a deep understanding of ourselves and a deep understanding of what it is that we need and what we want and to feel completely fulfilled so that we can then help other people. So thank you so much for being here, and I just want to welcome you because I know that it's a evening and you could be doing so many other things, but you're here and you've decided to make yourself an absolute priority in the campaign of self-love. And I'm so excited to have you here. Now, I don't know if you know much about what I do. A couple of you who are on this webinar probably know a little bit about me, but I'll share just a bit in a moment. But I really essentially want to talk about what we're going to be covering tonight. And you can expect to spend about 30 minutes here investing time into yourself so that you have a much better understanding of how you can build more self-love for yourself. And as I'm speaking to you, I'm just trying to work out how to get to the next slide. Okay, yay, found it. So today is all about you. And some people find it extremely challenging to accept that they take time out just 100% for themselves. And if that's you, I totally understand and I can completely relate. It can be challenging to just stop for a period of time and focus 100% just on you and exactly what it is that you need. So I want to check in with you. How do you feel about investing time and energy into yourself to develop a true deep understanding of yourself and a true deep connection with yourself so that you can love yourself to the deepest possible levels that you can? So let me know, can you handle it? Can you handle loving yourself so much that it actually feels all-consuming? Now, some people relate self-love to ego, and when I look up the definition of self-love, the definition is looking after oneself and creating a sense of well-being for yourself. Now, in my book, that has nothing to do with ego and everything to do with accepting that there is a certain way that we can look after ourselves, and essentially that loving ourselves is the key to being well. It talks about well-being. So if self-love is well-being, then in a way, it's kind of irresponsible not to love ourselves crazy, because otherwise we let go of our own well-being. And that is what tonight is about. It's how you tap into your purpose, your energy, the things that are really important to you so that you are a priority in your own life. Now, I'd love you to tell me what you think. Is self-love easy, and how are you going with it? So if self-love is one of those things that you do really naturally and that you generally speak beautifully to yourself, and you're very forgiving of yourself, and you are totally in love with your body, your mind, your spirit, and your soul, that's fantastic. But tell me from a different point of view, is it easy for you? I know for myself that self-love takes constant effort, and it takes me being really focused in on what's truly, truly important to me. It's really easy for me to become self-critical of myself, for me to compare myself to other people, and all of these are a form of degradation to ourselves. It's a way of not recognizing how beautiful and incredibly important we really are. So self-love to me is one of those things that we have to keep working at. And it's one of those things that if we let it go, if we stop working on it, it's very easy for the weeds of doubt and self-degradation to grow in your garden of self-love. So this is a job where we're constantly going and picking out the weeds, and that is essentially what self-love is. It's not being critical of the times when we do slip, but recognizing it, being kind to ourselves, and then doing the work that we need to do. It's also about learning how to parent ourselves. And I'll talk about a couple of examples on that in a minute. So who am I? If you're here, you may have met me sometime in the past, but if you haven't, just a quick introduction. I'm a love tutor. So what is a love tutor? That is somebody, that's me, and I came up with the title for myself because I want to be a tutor in love. I want to help people love themselves to the deepest possible levels that they can. I want to help people in relationships, and I do help people in relationships to form a really deep connection with each other. And I teach them and give them strategies on how to love themselves and love each other. And I also work within corporate organizations, and I help them learn how to love their staff, learn how to love their customers, and learn how to love their leadership team, which to me is so critically important, because the love revolution, which is what I'm responsible for, is one of the ways of creating peace and harmony in our world. And I do that in all facets. So I talk to individuals, I talk to couples, and I talk to corporate organizations, where we can make a massive difference in how people feel about themselves, feel about other people, and therefore have a much deeper respect and understanding of each other. And to me, that is how I create world peace, or my part of how we create world peace. And you can be a part of that as well through your love revolution. So I skipped a few. So I'm a love tutor. I'm also a facilitator and a speaker. So I work within organizations to do my work, and I run my own events as well. I'm also an online author. I've written the book called Surviving the Corporate Zombie Apocalypse. And I've also written a book called Beyond the Prison of Self-Doubt, which helps people with self-belief and confidence. And I've written an online book called Let's Talk About Sex, Baby. And I believe that sex and intimacy is one of the ways that we create love in this world. I'm also a mother of 2 adult boys. I have a 19-year-old and a 21-year-old, and I'm learning different ways and different strategies of parenting, because it's so different parenting adults to what it is parenting children. And I have my challenges in that space, but I continue to keep my heart wide open and allow myself to be very vulnerable. And I'm a lover. I've been married to my beautiful partner, Craig, for over 23 years now. We are extremely happily married, and we work on our self-love as an absolute #1 priority, and on our relationship as well. And those are the things that are really, really important to me. So a couple of the projects that I'm involved in, I run a business called Inspire Training Solutions, and that is my business that goes out to corporate organizations and does training around interpersonal skills, around communication, and around mindset. And then I have my website called Jackie Opie Saucy Secrets, and in that space is where I'm talking to people about intimacy. And within that, I've created the 7-day intimacy challenge and also the 30-day intimacy transformation, and that's where all my courses are run. So some of the programs that I run through there are Saucy Secrets to Spice Up Your Love Life. That's for women. I also run couples retreats, and I run events for men, helping them understand women and themselves just a little bit better, and often run webinars where I have the opportunity to share with people what I love and want to talk about the most, which is human connection. So let's talk about you. I'm really interested and curious to know from you, why is self-love so important to you? And that's something that we're going to be talking about today. But for most people, the reason that they explore self-love is in essence to have a sense of freedom. And that freedom, we're not just talking about financial freedom. What I'm talking about is the freedom to accept, to love, and to care for ourselves at a really, really deep level. And that is what most people are looking for, is to let go the shackles of expectation and of criticism and of self-doubt. And when we love ourselves to those depths where we can let go of all judgment of self, that is when we have, I believe, a true sense of freedom, a sense that we are not held back by any limiting beliefs that we have of ourselves, and that we are free to express ourselves and free to accept ourselves. And I'm guessing that might be some of the reasons why you're here today. So some things that will help you today throughout this webinar. We may be talking about some areas that you haven't ever heard of before, and I understand, and we may be talking about some areas that you've already heard of before. Nothing in this world is new. So what I'm sharing with you today are concepts that I've learned from my mentors and through my own personal and professional development journey over the last 12 years. So what I'm asking from you is, if you have heard some of these concepts, that's fantastic. This is an opportunity to refresh. But if I say something and you find yourself saying something like, oh yeah, I know that, I want you to understand there is a difference between knowing something and actually practicing something. And today I'm going to ask you to open up your mind and your heart to start some new practices where perhaps you may have known something that you, for example, we all know that meditation is really good for us, but how many of us actually practice meditation? There's a big, big difference between knowing and doing. And today I'm hoping to share with you some resources and tools that you will go, you know what? I've known this, but today I'm going to take action and I'm actually going to start doing it. That is where the shift happens. That's where the change happens. There may also be some things that I say that you think are obvious, and I want you to be aware of that and think about how you respond when you feel closed down to information. So I'm asking you to open your heart, open your mind to the information that's shared with you today, and have a sense of curiosity about what I'm talking about. Because with a sense of curiosity, we're much more likely to open up our hearts and open up our spirit to new opportunities, to new things that we may never have tried before. So that's my request for you tonight. And I know that with that, with an open mind and an open heart, today you will get so much out of this program. So let's talk about what we're going to cover. I want to talk about where you are right now. In your self-love journey, what is it that you're doing right now that's been helpful for you? And then we're going to talk about why that's important to you. Why is this self-love journey important to you, and why is it important right now? Then we'll talk about some things that you can do. What can be done to improve your level of self-love for yourself? And then we're going to talk about how to actually get started. Because it's one thing to know, as we said, it's another to get started and actually make something happen, which is so exciting. So let's jump into it. I want to know where you are right now. So wherever you are in your journey right now, I want you to think about what it is that you have in your life right now when it comes to self-love. Let me ask you a few questions. Are you the kind of person who, when you make a mistake, you have the choice of either criticizing yourself for that mistake, or do you go to saying to yourself, oh, well, it's the first time I've tried that. This is something new. I'll give it another go. This is kind of a measure as to where you are right now with your level of self-love, how accepting you are of yourself, how forgiving you are of yourself when you make mistakes. Have you made mistakes in the past and then gone, you know what? We all make mistakes. I'm human and I'm learning and I'm growing. Or are you the kind of person that says, what an idiot I am? So I want you to check in with that. Where are you right now? If you could rate your level of self-love right now with where you are, how would you rate it out of 1 to 10? 1 is it's terrible, and 10 is it is amazing and you are loving yourself silly. So write that number down. What is that number for you right now? It might also make a little bit more sense when we go through some of the strategies and some of the areas that you can use to express self-love, and you might come back and review that number based on some of the information that I share with you. Now, my next question for you is, when will you commit to making the changes in your life that you need to have a much deeper self-love? I want you to write down a date right now. When is that time? When is that moment that you are going to give yourself permission to love yourself so deeply and to connect with yourself so deeply that other people start wondering what the heck you've been up to? So you should have written down a number now between 1 and 10, expressing how much self-love you have for yourself, and also have written down a date. When will this change for you? When are you going to implement some of the strategies that we're going to be talking about today? Okay. So I want to know why this is so important to you right now. Because yesterday it may not have been that important, and maybe a year ago it wasn't that important to you. But why now? Why have you decided that this point in your life is time for you to have more love for yourself, to express more kindness and forgiveness towards yourself? Why now? What has changed for you? What is that shift? So I'm going to give you 30 seconds to write down, why is this so important to you? Okay, so wrapping up whatever you're writing on at the moment, why is this so important to you? I'll share a story with you. The reason it's so important to me, and it hasn't always been so important, but there was a pivotal moment in my life where I made a mistake. And for a really, really long time, I beat myself up about that mistake that I had made. And when I made this mistake, I didn't realize that it was actually a form of self-sabotage and that I was playing a part in a script that I had written about myself that I just thought was the person that I was. And for a really long time, I beat myself up about this until the point where I eventually said, oh my gosh, like this is enough. And I imagined a girlfriend of mine, I imagined having a friend come over and sit in front of me and say, Jackie, I've made a really, really big mistake. And then I imagined what I would say to my girlfriend when she said to me that she'd made a mistake. And if I had said to her what I was saying to myself, first of all, she would have been devastated because she would have been there looking for comfort, not criticism. She would have been there looking for somebody who understood her and who could accept her, even although she had made a mistake. And I do that with my girlfriends all the time. I do it with my children all the time. I do it with my husband all the time. But I had to come to realize that when it came to myself, my level of forgiveness to myself, for myself, was nowhere near the same courtesy that I was offering everybody else. And that gobsmacked me. And it was at that point that I went, you know what? This is so not fair. It is not fair to treat myself the way that I have been treating myself. And that is when I realized that love, deep, connected love with myself, was the only remedy that I needed to be able to let go of all the limiting beliefs that I had about myself and all the stories that I was telling myself about myself. That is why it became so important to me. And because I work with so many people and help them around confidence and self-belief, I realized that I cannot go out there in true form and help people develop themselves and their level of confidence and self-belief if I do not love myself, because I'm selling something that I'm not prepared to buy. And that, to me, is what a fraud does. So I had to take my own medicine. I had to recognize that the only person that needed to love me more than anybody else was me. And that is my why. That is why I feel so liberated around what I do. And do I make mistakes? Yes, I absolutely do. Do I let myself down and talk poorly of myself sometimes? Absolutely, I do. But you know what? I can forgive myself for those moments because I know that I'm growing and I'm learning and I'm on a path of self-love. So I hope you've got your why down, because your why is going to be the thing that when it gets tough, you can go back to and go, why am I doing this? Why is self-love so important to me? And that will be a perfect reminder to you of why it's so important. So let's talk about some of the things that you can do. If self-love is so important to you, and I know it is because otherwise you wouldn't be here, let's talk about some of the things that you can do to develop an incredible amount of self-love for yourself. Now, you may already be doing some of these, or you may know of them and not have actually implemented any of them. And some of them, in fact, it's not even an implementation, it's an awareness of what you're doing at the moment and perhaps what you could do better to show more love to yourself. Now, when I say better, I don't mean better in terms of judging what you've done previously. Whatever you've been doing up to this point is okay. Because if we were to start judging what you were doing now, then that wouldn't be a good reflection of self-love. Because judgment, which is the first one that we'll talk about, is a reflection of not loving and accepting ourselves deeply. So when I talk about judgment, what I mean is zero judgment of ourselves. Not even judgment of the fact that we've judged ourselves. I know that sounds crazy, but when you start judging, oh, well, I've been so critical of myself and I shouldn't have done that. Well, that in itself is a form of judgment. So it's acknowledging and accepting when we've made mistakes. And it's recognizing it's okay. And it's amazing the amount of peace and harmony that can come from this, from just stopping the judgment. And let me give you some really little examples, right? If you don't think you judge yourself, think about this. You've picked up a piece of paper, or let's say a piece of toast. Actually, this has really happened to me. I've picked up a piece of toast that I was about to put on my plate, and I've dropped the toast. Now, you and I both know if toast has something on it, it's always going to fall with the buttered side on the floor. Now, think about the severity of this, right? It's a piece of toast. I've dropped it on the floor. There's a little bit of butter on the floor. And as I pick up the piece of toast, what I've said to myself is, oh my God, you're such an idiot. Wow. For such a minor little offense or mistake, such an incredibly huge judgment of myself. The one thing that I think is so important to understand here is that our mindset has everything to do with this. And some of the things that we say, like the, oh my gosh, you're such an idiot, are programmed in there. And it is going to be challenging to start uncovering where you're saying things to yourself and the judgments that you're making of yourself. It's going to take time to become aware of that if you haven't been on this journey before. If you haven't put your mind yet to becoming conscious of what comes out of your mouth, because what comes out of your mouth is a reflection on what is in your subconscious mind. And the more we say those things, the more we say, oh my gosh, I'm such an idiot, the more we reinforce that message to our subconscious mind. And the thing is, the subconscious mind has zero sense of humor. It has no sense of humor at all. So even if you're joking, you're going, oh my God, I'm such an idiot, but you're joking. The subconscious mind doesn't get that. It just puts in the words, idiot. Well, if you're saying that often enough during the day, think about where the other places are that these words might be impacting on your life. You go for, you're putting in you're thinking about buying a new business, or you're thinking about applying for a new job, or you're thinking about studying something. And all of a sudden, the language that you've been programming into your subconscious mind starts to play havoc with you. There's where the doubt comes in. Oh, really? Am I worth this? Or am I worth that amount of money? Or should I really study this course? What if I fail at it? Because the language that we've been putting in the subconscious is so unproductive. Whereas opposed to that is, oh, well, it's just a little mishap or mistakes that we make. Oh, well, I'm learning every day. It's okay. What we program into our subconscious comes out eventually. So you have the choice as to what goes in there. And so part of that is self-love. When you find yourself judging yourself or criticizing or having negative self-talk, this is the time to start pulling yourself up on it. So here's your challenge with this one, because I don't just want to tell you the things to become aware of. I want to give you some strategies to make sure that this self-love embeds itself into your core. So I hope you've got a pen and paper there to write down a couple of things that you can do when it comes to making sure that the language you use and the level of judgment and criticism is at a minimum. Is it ever going to be gone for good? You know, I don't know anybody, maybe, but I personally do not know anybody who has said to me that their mindset is always 100% on track, because you're working with a mind here, with thoughts, and we're having hundreds of thousands of them. It's pretty hard to be aware of every single one of them for every second of the day. So it's a work in progress, right? So here's some things that you can do. I know that you've probably heard of affirmations before. The chances are you've heard of affirmations. So that's the knowing. Let's talk about the doing. If you've heard of affirmations before and you know the benefits, which are reprogramming the mind and setting a better intention for ourselves, are you actually doing it? Are you actually doing affirmations? Be honest with yourself. And that affirmation is not every now and again going, oh yeah, I'm a good person. What I'm talking about is the level of affirmation that you build into your daily routine. Saying things to yourself like, I am amazing. I am worthy. My life is incredible. I am growing and learning every single day. I deserve to be treated with love and respect. I love and respect myself. So these are some examples of affirmations, but it's not saying it once off, because it's taken a lifetime to program your subconscious mind, and it's going to take time and effort and energy to change that. And you may not even notice a difference initially. You might not notice a difference for 3 months. And then we look at affirmations and go, well, these things don't work. Really? Your affirmations in the past have worked. The negative ones that we say to ourselves all the time, those affirmations have worked really, really well. So what's to say that good affirmations aren't going to work? And we're always talking to ourselves. We might as well make it a good story. We might as well make it an amazing story, one that we would tell our friends and shout from the rooftops. So whatever you're saying to yourself, make it awesome. So if you're up for the challenge, what I'd love you to do as part of your homework is to write out 5 affirmations that you can pre-record. You actually write them out, and then you grab your phone and you record them to yourself on your phone, and you play it on repeat to yourself over and over and over. Play it when you're in the car. Play it when you're going to sleep. Make sure that you start to reprogram your subconscious mind with it. That's your challenge number 2 after setting your date. Let's talk about forgiveness. So I said to you before that I made a massive mistake, and I'm going to share with you what happened. And this is my journey. It's about 4 years ago now, and I was training really, really hard with a group of friends for a massive walk. It's a 2-day, potentially a 2-day hike through really rugged terrain, and it's called the Trailblazer. It's here in Adelaide. And I trained my butt off for 7 or 8 months. And myself and this group of girlfriends, we caught up every weekend and we walked our butts off because we had all this training to do. I was so, so excited. I had never in my life done so much training. I had never been so fit in all my life, and I had never been so excited about a personal fitness challenge. The day before the Trailblazer was to begin, my work organisation, I was a real estate agent at the time, my work organisation was having their awards night. And of course, I won a couple of awards and I had a big night. And I got home at 4 in the morning on the day that I was meant to be doing the Trailblazer. And I was in no state at all to go and do this challenge. There was no way that I could do it. So I had to ring up my girlfriend who I had been training with and say to her that I couldn't make it. And this is the incident that I hung on to for so long because I had put so much energy into it. I had worked so hard for it. I had let down my girlfriends. I had let myself down. I was embarrassed at work because I had been raving about how I was doing this challenge. I was mortified. My husband was so upset with me because every week he'd sacrificed weekends as well. He was dropping us off and picking us up, and there was so much involved, and I hung on to this for years and years and years. And I just couldn't forgive myself for it. And eventually I got to the point where I had to recognize, I said to you, that would I be treating a friend like this? Would I beat her up about the same thing for 3 or 4 years? And the answer was, oh my gosh, no way would I be doing that. I would be there sitting by her side, holding her, loving her, caring for her. Yet I wasn't providing myself with the same courtesy. So forgiveness, what is it that you're hanging on to? Some mistake that you've made, money that you've lost, friendships that you haven't nurtured, relationships that have gone by the wayside, your own fitness and health, what your body looks like. Can you take any of those and put your hand on your heart and forgive yourself? Can you do it? It takes a lot of courage, because sometimes even the things that you're forgiving yourself for, other people haven't forgiven you for. But there is nothing more important than your own forgiveness. Whatever it is, that one thing that is eating away at your heart, that is causing you tension, that is causing you stress, that every time you think about it, you have butterflies in your stomach and it makes you feel ill. Whatever that is, it's time to let it go. You know, growing up, I grew up in a family where we were religious, and I grew up as a Christian, and I can't even remember what church it was in, but we used to go to Sunday school, and part of our Sunday school was the same as confession. I can't remember the religion. That's not what's important. We had the process of confession, and I used to love going to confession because for me, it was a release. I was like, you know what? I can talk about these things and I can actually let stuff go. And I didn't realize, because I was a child, and some of it was, all in a bit of fun, but in reality, what I now realize is that sometimes going and having that conversation and saying, these are the things that I've done and I want to let it go. I want to forgive myself for it. You can do that. So what is your process for forgiveness? What are you going to do? Are you going to write a letter to yourself, forgiving yourself? Is it an apology letter that you need to write for yourself first? No, Jackie, this would be my own letter to myself. Jackie, I'm sorry that I let you down when it came to do the Trailblazer. I realized it was something that was truly important to you. And then the forgiveness letter, Jackie, I forgive you. We all make mistakes. It doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It just means you made a bad decision. Can we forgive bad decisions of ourselves? I don't know. Can you? It's your decision. So that's on forgiveness. So let's talk about personal care and how that impacts on self-love. So personal care, to me, this is a really tough one, because I'm not saying here that you have to be perfect, that you have to have the perfect body. That is not what I'm talking about at all. Personal care to me is having the respect for ourselves, where we fuel our body with what it needs to perform at its very, very best. That means whatever you eat, it means whatever you drink, it means how well you breathe, it means how much you allow yourself to rest, as in sleep and recover. I'm talking about the level of how much meditation you do, whether you have a mindfulness practice that you do, whether you are going to, have some sort of fitness or well-being regime. And I'm talking about your routines. Do you have a routine and a lifestyle that supports self-love? I know for me, when I'm not eating well, just about everything I put in my mouth that is unhealthy for me, I feel guilty about. And how does guilt connect to self-love? How can I possibly love myself silly when I feel guilty about what I'm doing? So think about what routines you have, what habits you've created for yourself around your personal care. And are those habits supporting you in your level of self-love, or do they let you down? For example, if you smoke, how good do you feel about smoking? Now, this is not a judgment. I want you to be aware of what I'm saying. I'm letting you know this is not me judging you for whatever habits you have. I'm asking the question, when you are partaking in any of those habits that you have, whether it's smoking, drinking, sleeping in excessively, watching excessive TV, not going to the gym, how do you feel? How do you feel? If you feel amazing and it doesn't bother you and you can let it all go and forgive and not judge, then that's okay. But if you're doing things that you're judging yourself about, it's pretty hard to let go of judgment when we're still carrying on behavior that gives us a reason to judge ourselves. Does that make sense? So what are the habits that you need to shift and change so that you have a much deeper level of true self-love? True self-love means, in a way, that you do not do things to your body or to your mind or your spirit that you know is not good for you. So you may know these things. As I said earlier, you may know some of this, but open your heart and your mind to the doing of it. Okay, so let's talk about this. One of the other things I want to say in terms of just building amazing self-love is to keep learning. Research ways of loving yourself more. When you go onto Google and you Google self-love, oh my goodness, there are so many options, so many different tools that you can tap into that will escalate your self-love journey. There is so much out there, so keep learning, keep researching what else is out there. Make yourself your next project. Get excited about being the best possible version of yourself so that it's easier for you to love yourself. Make yourself a project. How awesome is that? I just want you to think about something for a sec, right? Before I set a challenge for you and before I talk about what the next steps are in this journey, so how you can actually start. So, you often hear people talk about the analogy of a car, right? And how we look after and maintain a car. Just imagine for a minute that you could treat yourself like a $1 million car. Now, I know that you are worth more than money, but I want to draw a comparison here. And I know it would be more than $1 million car, but let's talk in terms of that we all understand. If you were to treat yourself like $1 million car, what would you do differently? If you were to treat yourself like $1 million car, what would you do differently to what you are doing right now? And I'm going to take some guesses here. Number one, you wouldn't run your car into the ground, would you? No, you wouldn't run it into the ground. You would get it serviced regularly. You would choose the best fuel to put into that vehicle. You would drive it at a pace that the car was intended for. You wouldn't be over-revving the engine or slamming on the brakes or, heading into road rage and punching the steering wheel. You wouldn't do those things to $1 million car if it was yours. You wouldn't talk badly about it. You'd actually talk that car up. You'd have to explain to your friends what a brilliant car you have because it's $1 million car. It's worth a heap of money. You've got to make it sound good. So you would be talking it up all the time. And you most certainly would not, under any circumstances, let anybody treat that car poorly. In fact, if you were to see somebody walk past with a key near your car, you'd probably start to panic. So this is in terms of thinking about your relationships and who you have in your life. So think about yourself as $1 million car. When you are going to do that habit that you've decided you don't want to do anymore, would you do it to your $1 million car? When you think about how you're not resting properly and not giving that yourself a break? Would you do that to your car? When you think about having an ailment, a sore hip, a sore knee, constant headaches, would you, if you were treating yourself like $1 million car, would you get it sorted out so that you could be the best possible version of yourself? So these are the things to think about. If you can't think about it in terms of just how important you are, then use the analogy around the motor vehicle. So let me talk to you about some things that I would love to challenge you on going on a detox from in the next 30 days. Some things that you might want to think about. Number one, a detox from unworthy relationships. Now, I know you're probably freaking out right now because you may have some relationships right now that are not healthy. And I want to ask you this. If you truly love yourself, if you have the deepest level of self-love, would you really allow somebody to disrespect you, to treat you in a certain way, to speak to you in a certain way? Even if you're not able to get rid of those relationships, and I know that it's not that easy, perhaps it's time to set some boundaries in those relationships, or to spend less time with the people who you're thinking, the person who you're thinking about at the moment. So go on a relationship detox. Shift, spend less time with people who bring you down, who don't help you see the best in yourself. So that's the first one. The next one is a detox from any job or career or business that you are currently involved in that you hate doing. The number of people I speak to who hate what they do, and I know it's a strong word, hate, but I mean they hate what they do, or that's the language they use, yet they don't look for alternatives as to what else they could be doing. It's very hard to show a deep level of self-love for oneself when you're having to turn up somewhere every day where you don't feel valued, trusted, respected, and cared for. So is it time for you to reconsider what it is that you're doing to earn your income? The next one is a detox from negativity. This is from negativity through your own self-talk, through the negativity of media, of getting caught up in stuff on social media that drags you down, in anything that is perceived as negative to you. It could be, and this could be habits, any negativity at all, or that raises a negative feeling within you. I challenge you to cut it out for the next 30 days and see how you feel afterwards, and then make a decision as to whether you allow that back into your life or not. And the next one, the last one, is gossip. To go on a complete detox from gossip. I recently caught up with a group of people who I had to actually excuse myself from, because I wouldn't tolerate the amount of gossip from them about themselves, like even talking negatively about themselves, criticizing one another, and gossiping about people who I knew but weren't there at the time. Gossip is one of the easiest ways to show a reflection on how we truly feel about ourselves, without judgment, but with observation. If we are gossiping about somebody else and saying things that we would not want somebody to say about ourselves, then to me that is a reflection of a low self-esteem. So wherever you're challenged with gossip, walk away from it. Do not get yourself involved as much as you can. And even the opposite of just not getting involved and going, oh, well, that's one way of seeing that person. The other things I've noticed about them are this. Because sometimes we can help other people realize that what they're saying is actually so cruel and so mean. So 0 gossip for the next 30 days if you're up for the challenge. So those are my hot tips for self-love. Now, obviously, there's so many other things that I could share with you, so much information out there. But right now, I do not want to overload you. So I'm going to recap on the things that we've spoken about. We've spoken about forgiveness, judgment, personal care, acceptance of ourselves and how we are, and going on the detox, which is about relationships, jobs, negativity, and gossip. Now, I just realized there's one that I've left out, which is acceptance of ourselves. To truly love ourselves means that we accept ourselves exactly the way we are, which is a beautiful, divine, celebrated human being. Somebody who means the world to somebody else, but more importantly, needs to mean the world to yourself. So whatever it is that you look at in the mirror about your body shape, your color of your eyes, your hair, your clothes, whatever it is, this is your time to start loving yourself exactly the way that you are today. Not what you look like in 30 days, not what you looked like 10 years ago, but falling in love with the person in the mirror today. And that is the challenge. So the next time you're looking in the mirror, I want you to look at yourself from top to bottom and send so much love. And in the areas where you feel the most challenged to send that love to, that is where you focus. Take an extra 10 seconds. If it's your butt, look at your butt and go, oh my gosh, you are amazing. Thank you. Thank you for being the most beautiful, useful, incredible butt that I could ever ask for. And guess what? You're mine and I get to keep you. Anything that challenges you on your body, spend extra time there because it is so needed. Now, this is also about other people. When we talk about judgment, accepting other people exactly the way they are. I once had a girlfriend say to me, I've stopped sleeping in the same bed as my partner because he's picked up so much weight and I can't stand it. And I've told him that he can come back to our bedroom when he's lost weight. Wow. What's the motivation? What's the inspiration in that? So accepting and loving other people the way that they are right now, with their flaws and all. Because if we're judging them, we are likely to be judging ourselves as well. All right, so let's see where this goes from here. So I've set a couple of challenges for you, but how are you going to get started? And I've got a way to help you with that, which I'm going to share with you in a sec. So don't run away because it is free. So how are you going to get started? Well, the first part is making a decision. Earlier, you wrote down a number between 1 to 10 about how you feel about your level of self-love right now. And I want you to look at that number. Whatever that number is, I want you to see if you need to reassess it. So just, if you need to, just scratch it out, write a new number. If you're happy with that number, great. If you feel like you are the best that you can be and you love yourself silly, then that is great. But if the number that you're looking for or looking at is less than what you want it to be, I want you to write down a number for where you would like that to be. So let's say you're at a 5 and you want to be at an 8. You'll have two numbers written down, a 5 and an 8. I want to help you get from whatever your number is right now to the number that you want to be at. And to do that, what I have created is the 7-day self-love program. So what is this? And this has just been launched, right? This is brand new. You are the first person to hear about this. So the 7-day self-love program, it's on Facebook. I've created the group for it. So if you go and search the 7-day love program, you will find it there. And what you will notice is that there is nobody in the group yet, because this is going to be launched on the, just checking the dates, on the 30th of January. So you've got 4 or 5 days to get yourself in there, to get yourself sorted. So you can send a request, but your request will not be accepted until the 30th of January. Why am I doing that? Because I want everybody starting on the same page at the same time. So send the request through now. I'm just going to make sure that I have 100% given you the right Facebook page, because if you search the wrong thing, it's not going to come up. It is a private group. So that private group is only going to be accessible by people who I've directly spoken to and are on this journey for self-love. So it's called the 7-day self-love journey, and that's self-love. 7-day self-love journey. Send me a request to join the group. I will add you on the 30th of January, and from there, there's going to be 7 days of challenges for you to see how much it is that you really, really, truly, deeply love yourself. If you're up for the challenge, I would love to have you there. This will be an opportunity for you to share and interact, to ask any questions that you want to about self-love, and it is absolutely free. No tricks, nothing. It's just 100% there for you to create the number that you want in your life, to go from where you are today to where it is that you want to be. So inside there, we'll give you strategies, ideas, challenges. I'll be asking you to put up videos. I'll be asking you to demonstrate how you love yourself silly. I'd love to have you there, because I believe that the way for us to spread love around the world is to start with a deep sense of love for ourselves. And when we love ourselves deeply, we can then love the people around us and spread love to create the love revolution, which is absolutely the project that is at the top of my heart and can be of yours as well. I don't own the love revolution. It is the love revolution. And I need people like you who love themselves deeply and are happy to tap into their true self-worth, their true self-care, so that they can spread love around the rest of the world. I'm so grateful to have you here. If there's anything else that I can help you with, please contact me through Facebook. I'm really easy to find, Jackie Opie, which is JACQUE, and Opie spelled OPIE. You can check out the Love Revolution on Facebook. You can check out Inspire Training Solutions on Facebook, and you can also check out all the other programs that I run on my website, which is www.jackieopie.wixsite.com/Saucy Secrets. Thank you for being here. I really value and respect you. I'm so grateful for your time and your energy, and I hope to see you in 7-day self-love program. See you then. Thank you.